Okay. So, there are things that have bothered me about 3D printing. Even before I got a 3D printer, and when they started out, people were excited about them, like, oh, you can build anything. I kind of want to make fun of that statement, but it's not important. People were really excited about it. Really, it's a lot of hype, as they say on the train, the hype train. And then as the reviews and things kept rolling in, and this was a rough start. Things were not affordable, especially by consumers. The only thing that was like the MakerBot, and even then there wasn't a lot of there were always issues and software integration issues and slicing. There just wasn't a lot of options, so it's still kind of a new market. But the thing that bugged me, and the thing that made me think perhaps this wasn't a good thing to do or to get, was that people were saying I've kind of printed everything I want to with it. Like they printed it's like they went on Thingiverse and looked up the models that they wanted and were like, oh, when I get a 3D printer, I'm going to print this one and this one and this one. And then they got a 3D printer, and then they printed all of them, and then they were done. And they were like, yeah, there's nothing really new to print for it. And this bothered me because I viewed it as a limitation of the hardware. This is still the FDM, I think it's called, printing process. You're layering down plastic in order to assemble parts. It's an additive process. So I thought maybe the machines just they were limited in some way that I hadn't quite understood. And it turns out that people are just really, really uninspired. And I'll use that as the polite term. This is like getting a computer and running the couple pieces of software that came with it, and then saying, I've done pretty much everything there is to do with this. No, you haven't even scratched the surface. But people are uninspired. Excuse me. So I was gonna say, who's really inspired is people in communist countries with very little money and very little imports, who can't get parts, can't get pieces, can't make things, and they can have this additive manufacturing process that can build pretty much anything with with a few caveats, but quite a bit, just for the cost of filament, which is cheap. Is it too much other stuff, too much distractions? We play some video games, and some of them really grip us, and some of them do not. And I definitely am on about emulators. I like emulators. And I never really, even installing the games from my childhood, I'd play some of them, but nothing would really grab me. It's fine, because I've pretty much just, you are expected to get older. I don't know if you know this. A lot of people seem to be unaware of this, but you are expected to get older, to progress in how you view the world and how you view yourself in it, and your responsibilities and your actions, and what it is you're here for, essentially. fact that the fact that I don't finish some games or play some games and go, wow, I'm really excited about this, I can't wait to play it again. Or, you know, I can say the same thing about books. There's a lot of books that don't, if a book doesn't really grip me, I'm done. I don't care. I don't care enough to complete it, to finish it. But if we had fewer distractions, and this is like a quality versus quantity thing, you know, actually, Razorfist actually made this point, and I got that uncomfortable feeling of, oh no, he's right and I'm wrong. It's about music, and that we used to buy a CD, buy an album, you know, right when it came out, and then listen to it non-stop, essentially, for weeks or, you know, months maybe. And we pick out our favorites and figure out what's going on, and pick out other little subtle background things that are going on in the music, and it would speak to our soul for weeks at a time. And today we have what is it called? I'm missing the word right now, but we have an overabundance of music. We have instant access to more music, and it's a lot easier when you've got 10 million songs at your fingertips to listen to one for 4 seconds and skip through it, you know, scrub through it a couple times and be like, not really grabbing me, next. And that might have been your absolute favorite song for weeks, or even years, you know, a favorite you come back to for years, if you'd only have listened to it. Or if you'd only have listened to it 10 times. We really started to pick things out. So we have this knowledge, information, that's what it is. An abundance of information creates a poverty of attention. And an abundance for music. An abundance of music creates a disinterested, apathetic listener, I suppose. The point is, his point was about the whole dubstep thing, which I like dubstep, but he's kind of right. I probably listen to classical music more than I listen to dubstep, but it's jarring. It's almost frightening. It's surprising. It's alarming, and it's like a little yappy dog jumping up and down, making lots of noise, trying to get your attention desperately in a market that's saturated to the gills and beyond with music of all kinds, all new weird genres, things people are inventing and imagining and combining. So I'm going to say it, there needs to be some level of gatekeeping. There needs to be some level of limitation. It's too much. We can't seem to deal with it. And if that limitation is imposed by, music critics or something like that, or producers saying no, and that's another thing. Like, I didn't understand the job of a music producer until I talked to someone who actually produced an album. Or she was singing, she wrote and sung the album, but the producer was the person who was like, it doesn't feel right. Like, I don't like the feel. And I'm sure they have more, music-y terms for things like that. But the point was, the producer is kind of the gatekeeper who says, this is a little too experimental, dial it back. This is the whole thing about, it was like Blade Runner. Making the movie, and then after the fact, and this is actually almost verifiable, after the fact saying, oh, but maybe Deckard was a replicant. breaks the story, actually, and he wasn't. And nice try. Don't care. And ratio. Like, this allows these directors or writers or director writers to get too, I don't know if there's a polite word for this, but too far up their own rear ends, if you know what I mean. To be someone who's, well, you know, make your product for who you are. Don't put on airs. Pretending, yeah, never mind. But now there's like 30 different releases or 30 different cuts of Blade Runner, and the question is this better? The answer is probably not. You know, it takes all kinds of people to make a product, and if one person, it rarely is something the product of a singular vision. It's usually a lot of people collaborating, pushing boundaries, and people pushing back on boundaries, and people saying this is ridiculous, and people saying, oh, it just needs to cost twice as much, and people saying no, it needs to cost half as much. And out of this, good products do arise. But the straight to consumer music production idea, the concept it's flawed, horrendously flawed, because it's flooded, it's saturated. There's nothing that can be done about it. And people who would normally achieve some kind of critical acclaim are lost in an ocean of tolerable musicians, almost. Oh, no. And the only way we get to stand out is to be that yappy dog jumping up and down, making lots of noise, hitting the drop like Henry Clay. Overdone. It's been in the oven too long. Goodness, how did I get here? Walking it back. Music. Razor Fist, producers, gatekeepers, gatekeepers. And where were we before the gatekeepers? 3D printing? I don't know how we got from there to there, but I don't know. I don't know how we got from 3D printing to gatekeeping, or too much stuff. Too much stuff vying for our attention. So if we were to limit our access, if you take your video game library or your Steam library and narrow it down to one game and say, for this week I'm only allowed to play this one game, you'd probably be able to tell pretty quickly if this is something you want to continue playing, if you actually dedicate some serious time to it. And if not, then why are you buying it? Why is it in your Steam library? I don't know how I got to that from the 3D printing thing. There's too many things vying for our attention and all that, and distractions, and if we had fewer things, we would probably enjoy them more. I don't know how that applies to 3D printing, but people just seem to lack creativity in some regard. They're looking at something. They're looking at a piece of wood and saying, what's that? It's just wood. It's a almost criminal lack of imagination. And I don't know what to say about it. It's disappointing.